Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and today I want to look at three jazz standards, and they're all blues. You know, the 12-bar blues is really just a kind of a expression of the three primary chords in a key, embellished versions of them, sure, but really just those three chords, 1, 4, and 5. But the jazz blues draws on the 3 chord, the 6 chord, 2 5s targeting other destinations. And as a result, you've got a much richer harmonic vocabulary. It's the same harmonic vocabulary that we talk about when we talk about the Great American Songbook. It's really worth taking a look at. Almost everybody can approach the blues, and you can incrementally expand your sort of harmonic understanding outwards from it. Let's take a look at this stuff today. Well, first of all, if this is the second or third video of mine you've seen and you're getting something out of this channel and you're not subscribed, now's the time to subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Comments on videos help the channel grow. Like, you guys using blues, I'm really interested to know about how you relate to the Great American Songbook. I hope that we're building a community here, a community of producers, of composers, of arrangers, songwriters who are interested in music theory, not from an academic perspective, but just to try to grow their own musical understanding, to work on their own music. I hope this is music theory for everyone. Listen, I want to do a quick review of just what the standard 12-bar blues is like. And so this blues simple exercise up here on the screen is a 12-bar blues in F, and F is the 1 chord. There's 4 measures of F, and that's what that slash with the dot indicates. It's just 4 beats of F, 4 more beats of F, 4 more, and then we go to the 4 chord, which is B flat, and then back to 1. Well, so far I've had 8 measures and only 2 different chords. The last line of the blues is where everything happens. There's a measure of the 5 chord, in this case it's C7, and then an embellished 4. Now the jazz blues is a little bit different, and I'm just going to go over to an example of that. So here in the key of F again, we see the 1 chord, and then immediately a 4 chord, and then back to the 1 chord. And then at the end of this line, something really important to notice. C minor 7, completely out of key, F7, and that's a 2-5 to B flat. In the jazz blues, there are extra chords. There are chords that create motion and tension. The 4 chord is followed by a raised 4 diminished, and then back to the F. And then again, we've got a 2-5 pair. A minor 7, D7 is the 2 of G minor 7. Now, you might remember, quickly looking back, in the simple blues, that spot was inhabited by C7. In the jazz blues, it's inhabited by 2, and then 5, and then 1. And then you get here and you go 1, 6, 2, 5. This is the harmonic highway in action. This is 2-5 pairs in action. It still sounds very much like a blues. And then right away to 4. And then to B flat 7. The diminished. Many more chords, right? And yet we've still got that beautiful sense of the 12-bar form and a lot more kind of momentary tension. Let's go through it slowly. I'll play roots and voicings in the right hand. The tritone here is the 3rd and the 7th of F7. And then when I go to B flat 7, or B flat 9 in this case, the tritone is just a half step below it. Isn't that just great, the way that voicing works? And then back to F7. Now, since I'm here and it's time to go to C minor 7, F7, I'm going to use a really simple version of it, a shell voicing of C minor 7, and then F7, and then we'll go to B flat 9 again. So far, I've used fairly simple voicings. B diminished 7th, and it kind of looks like the top of a B7, doesn't it? B flat 7, I'm sorry. B diminished 7. These three notes are the same. Back to F7, A minor 7, D7, and that really does feel like it's in a different key for a second, doesn't it? A minor 7 has the E natural in it, if we play it that way. D7, the F sharp and the C is the tritone, and then we're home to G minor 7, which is kind of back to the key. C7 or C9, F7 again. That's the standard jazz blues. And yet in the expression of jazz blues that the great sort of jazz songwriters have used, almost every one of those great jazz tunes varies from this sort of generic expression of it. Let's look at 3 tunes and see how they differ and like how we can make it work for us. Well, first up for us is the Miles Davis tune, Freddie the Freeloader, and we're in the key of B flat here. And this little melody with B flat 7 is just a great sound. And I like to play it with the tritone underneath it. And then exactly the same melody on the E flat chord. And I'm going to play it kind of with this similar type of voicing. The tritone would be this. I could play it with a 9th. Sometimes I do that instead. Right? So much fun. It goes back. Now, at this melodic point, there's that A flat there. Weird little chromatic wormy sound. The A flat goes up to the A of F7. That's the 3rd. And then we have this 3rd of E flat 7. The G is the 3rd. And again, the tritone. And then surprisingly, we go to A flat 7. And A flat 7 in this context is the flat 7 chord. It sort of doesn't fit into the ordinary 12-bar form, and yet sounds great. The repeat takes us back to the top. And then 4 chord, back to 1. And here we have that fun melody again. And instead of resolving to A flat, it resolves back to B flat. This is not a 12-bar form, it's a 24-bar form by virtue of the simple trick of replacing one of the resolutions with a surprise chord, with like essentially a backdoor cadence that doesn't get home. Now, super fun to play. Love that voicing. And then this is so much fun. Notice how you can get away with just all tritones there in the right hand. Freddie the Freeloader. That's, of course, on the classic Miles Davis album, Kinda Blue. Let's look at another one. So here's Charlie Parker's tune, Blues for Alice. And it's a 12-bar form as well. And I'll tell you what I'm excited about here is not only just a terrific melody, but the use of the circle of fifths and an extended example of using the harmonic highway, the circle of fifths from the key, to harmonize a blues tune. So we start on the 1 chord as expected, and then immediately leap to the 7th chord. E is the 5 of A, which is the 5 of D, which is the 5 of G, which is the 5 of C, which is the 5 of F, and right where it should be, there's the 4 chord. Crazy, right? And honestly, sounds terrific. Wow, we got to that B flat chord, and boy, that sounded bebop, right? And yet the progression of the chords, we'll just listen to just the harmony. F and then the half diminished E minor to A, to D minor 7, to G9, C minor 7, F7 takes us to B flat 7. It's very logical, really straightforward, right around the circle of fifths. And in fact, the chord qualities change a little bit, but it does suggest the key that we're in. Well, now that we're at the 4 chord, the B flat chord here, we've got a measure, and then a 2-5. Doesn't this sound like it should be heading to A flat, right? But we don't get to A flat. We go to A, D, and finally A flat minor 7 to D flat. I love that moment, right? That reminds me of the 2-5 that takes us to G in the standard jazz blues. It's just in a funny location. And now we're at the G minor 7. And then home again. Just a terrific example of the harmonic highway. Circle of fifths within the key. One more tune to look at. Let's look at another Miles Davis tune. And this stands out for me because it has not only a slight variation to the harmonic form, but also a great kind of rhythmic vibe that is inimitable. Again, from the Miles Davis album, Kinda Blue. Well, the melody couldn't be simpler. We're in G now. Just living there on the 3rd. And then C7. Back to that 3rd. And then we go to the 5 chord. It almost sounds like a straightforward, I don't know, kind of like rock and blues, right? So far, everything's been kind of just 1, 4, and 5. Up a half step, this is E flat 7. And then back home again to G. Now, the way it's played on the album, it has a swing feel, and here it's notated in 6/8. You can see a secondary part underneath the melody here, also in the treble clef, which sounds like. And there's a bass line which goes kind of like. And that's just super fun to do. And then when you go to the C7, the B just changes to B flat. And then back to the G7. And then this chord here, D7 sharp 9, is really, it's the Hendrix chord, isn't it? D7 sharp 9. And then this E flat 7 sharp 9, same chord, just up a half step. And then the whole thing just sinks down again, still D7 sharp 9, but we keep the B flat on top to. Now, it might be hard to play the melody and that vibe at the same time. I have to play the melody note with my little finger and do this with my bottom fingers. That swing feel. It's really what it's all about, and it kind of lets you dig in. The chords are great. The D7 sharp 9, the E flat 7 sharp 9, and then this beautiful complicated D7 sharp 9 flat 13. Woo! They call it a sharp 5 here, I guess, because I'm not playing an A. Listen, the blues is a standard formula, but artistry demands variation, doesn't it? In the tunes that we just looked at least a couple of them used secondary dominance and the harmonic highway, just like we were looking at in the American Songbook stuff, to create more interesting pathways. And by extension, more interesting scales and melodic possibilities. We really saw that in the Parker tune, Blues for Alice. Study of these tunes reveals the thinking of some of the greatest minds of American and just in general music over the course of the past century. And it's super valuable. You don't have to really be able to perform it, to just take a look and think slowly about it. Why is that note B instead of B flat? Really important question. A silly thing little thing can be a very important detail that might expand something for you. Well, I hope it will. I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe and ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos. I'll see you next time.